Hey everyone, welcome back. And this is episode 62 of At the Coffee Table Podcast. I'm Jason Clank, and it just blows my mind that I'm at 62. And funny thing is, the last time I did the roundtable podcast with these ladies, I clicked go live earlier than I did the countdown, and so they see our faces before the go live even starts. So we are live and things happen. And we are going to add Alexis, who's joining us now. Alexis, I had to start the broadcast quick before StreamYard kicked me off of Facebook. So better late than never.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. So, and I was just saying how, once again, second time in a row doing the round table, I hit go live before I hit the countdown. So they see our face and then it goes to the countdown. So everybody enjoy that. So today I brought the ladies back to do another roundtable. We got some very good interaction the last time we did it. And today I wanted to dive more into our personal stories, our personal backgrounds. That way, anybody that is watching the podcast can get to know each and every one of us just a little bit better than me trying to regurgitate bios. So if you're watching the podcast and you have any questions, you have any comments, drop them in the comments. We'll post them up here, and we will answer anything as we go along. So I actually did a post earlier today about asking yourself the question, how did I get here? And it took a lot shorter time to get here than I ever thought it would get here, and wherever here may be. And we all travel different paths. We all experience different experiences, but every experience is a learning opportunity. And some of us, me included, have learned some hard lessons. I say that to my two older kids all the time. You learned hard lessons all the time. So we'll just kind of jump around here, give everybody kind of our story. And you can go as far back or not as far back as you want. You can share or not share as much as you want. But we'll start around the horn here. Jackie, why don't you go and we'll just go from there.
Okay, just my story, right?
Yep, your story. Your story, you tell it.
Okay, how I got here. Okay, I asked my husband earlier, how do I start my story? He said, well, I just saw half of your story this weekend and how you started. And I said, what do you mean by that? He's like, your dad was here. So I know at least like the origin story, your dad was just here, but only half of your parent team. And I was like, okay, that's not what I was looking for. But so how I got here. So I ended up going to Syracuse University for college, and then I stayed. And the interesting thing is through my whole life, I had been a gymnast, and then I did cheerleading, and everything was very competitive. And growing up, I had a very interesting, and I touched on this the last time a little bit, just not the best self-esteem or body image, just being Hispanic and also Italian. I had very dark hair. I was short. I had hair kind of everywhere. And like one eyebrow, it was kind of tough.
Oh, jeez.
And I always, it's tough. And I always said that I was just, people used to say I was solid. That was like their favorite thing to say. It's like, you're just, you're not heavy. You're not like fat. You're just solid. And I don't know what teenage girl.
You're big boned.
To hear that you're solid or big boned or whatever else they'll say to you. Or in cheerleading, people would drop you and say, oh my gosh, you're so heavy. Or just some of these things that used to kind of reverberate over and over again. And I would be like, wow, I guess I am. Maybe I should do something about it. But took it a little too extreme, to the point where, I had lost so much muscle and strength, and I was down to, at my lowest, like 86 pounds. So that I was not big boned anymore. But I didn't have energy. Yeah. I didn't have energy to do any of the things that I used to be able to do. None of my gymnastics. I didn't want to be around people. I was very focused on food, and my relationships with people suffered as a result. and I didn't really know what to do. And I went to college trying to like reinvent myself as this different person. I even didn't go by Jackie. I was trying to go by my full first name, like Jacqueline. Just wanted to be someone else. I wasn't a cheerleader. I wasn't a gymnast. I was just here.
Right.
I met my roommates and they kind of saw through that a little bit. Like, this person obviously is not happy, not doing okay. And they tried to sort of rehab me back to life here. It took a long time until about sophomore year when things sort of turned a corner, and I actually tried out for the cheerleading team here. They had an all-girl college team. So when I was trying to do that over the summer, I kind of built myself back up and started to get back into the routine, and found nutrition as my major. And I tried to go there, and then they told me I could only get a minor because I was starting too late. But one of the advisors said, well, if you want to work really hard, take 20 credit semesters for the next however long and do summer classes, I can help you with this. So she actually helped me get my bachelor's of science in nutrition. I was able to gain my weight back healthily. I made the cheerleading team, and I was on it for a couple of years and then started coaching. So kind of rehabbed myself through all of those experiences, and then got into nutrition. But basically it was to try to help myself because, unfortunately, it was sort of seen as a taboo kind of thing, and you're fine, like you just need to eat. The doctor I had did not really help me, and I never had a team like therapy or a counselor or a dietitian to help me. So I found it to be really important to try to be that person for someone else. I do struggle, I would say, helping people specifically with eating disorders, and I went into nursing home. I was working in a nursing home at first, and I just wanted to feed people was like my thing. But sort of got more into like the sports nutrition and diabetes, and kind of where I've landed recently. But fitness has become more of a passion for me, and trying to put that together with the nutrition aspect. And just looking back to where I was at, 84 pounds or 85 pounds and unhappy, to sort of building myself back up and trying to find that balance. And I find that that can be very difficult for people at any size, at any age, at any stage in the game. So trying to let people know that I haven't always, you haven't always been a certain way. Because I'll have even patients to this day, they'll say to me, well, you don't know what it's like to struggle with weight. You don't know what it's like to not look a certain way, or you don't know. Yes, I do. I do know, maybe not in the same way, but I do understand. Right. I always say people don't go into nutrition to talk about food and exercise and all these things without having some sort of personal tie to it. You don't just like it. You usually have a story behind it, whether it was helping yourself, helping someone else, seeing your family go through something. There's usually something bigger there. So,
right.
So here I am.
It's a hell of a journey.
Hell of a journey.
Hell of a journey.
A bridge journey, but it's been good. Yeah. But it is, I would say each day it's not always the easiest thing. It's having my girls and having friends and family to support me through all of it is always helpful. It's easy to have thoughts or somebody say something, or just trying to find your people who help back you too, and help you feel confident and strong and supporting people. Right. So I found a good community for that, and that's helped me right along too.
That's great. Thanks. Yeah, it's I think there's many out there that will echo a lot of what you just said, and can really associate maybe similar situations or similar struggles, because you were struggling a little bit, and that's what it kind of, that's what it sounds like to me, that you were struggling a little bit as you try to figure out your place in the world, especially in college when we don't know jack. So, and it's such a confusing time. So yeah, Liz, give us your story. So I don't babble.
You can babble. It's okay.
Yeah.
So my story is similar. I don't think that we end up where the four of us are, helping people and doing that kind of thing without struggle and
Right.
wanting to, turn around and help the next person up. So I guess where I am now is a nurse practitioner for a neurosurgery group. And it took me a long time. I mean, I did close to 10 years of college.
Wow.
And with that being said, I didn't know what I wanted to do at first either. I got out of high school and I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I wanted to be a vet, and I went to SU for a really short time too, and I was like, this isn't for me. And I ended up just going to OCC and choosing this associate's nursing program. I figured 2 years I can be in, I can get a job and be making good money, and fell in love with it. Fell in love with helping people and seeing being a part of their life. And I think a lot of that came from, I was looking to connect with people on a deeper level. That was something that I really struggled with in my childhood, is finding deep connections. And so I really enjoyed that part in building a rapport with patients. Moving forward, I became a nurse, and as you know, Jason, and you guys know too, that I got a divorce. And that's probably one of my the biggest struggle that most people in my personal circle know me for. And I think is something that a lot of people can relate with. I got a divorce right when I started my graduate studies to become an NP. And, I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and full-time graduate program, full-time nursing job. And I've had a lot of people say, we really thought that you were going to just fall apart. And, it's to be told that after you do it, you're kind of like, well, I didn't, look at me. But in the meantime, you're just kind of pushing along. And I found my biggest strengths during that time. And I made the most connections during that time. And so part of it was like, this is gonna make my life better, gonna give my children a better life. Part of it was, I can't let anybody see me fail.
Right.
I had to learn a lot on my own in life. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Yes, it's such a huge accomplishment to be a nurse practitioner, and I am really proud of that. But I think one of the biggest things for me personally was that I learned to take control of my life. For a really long time, I was just kind of riding this wave of what I should do next. First, I got married. Then I had kids. I had a house. I had a dog. I had the car, whatever. Then all of a sudden it fell apart. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was, you don't have those things. Life is not what everybody thought it was going to be. I had this marriage that everyone wanted. It was perfect. It was great. And then one day I just didn't. And I think, honestly, that's what propelled me into doing what I do now, because now I can connect even further on a deeper level. I can say, I do know your struggles, just like you, Jackie. I have people say, you don't know what it's like. I don't have support at home. I don't have X, Y, Z. And I can say, I do. And these are the things that we can do for you. And I can come off of my own personal experiences, finding your tribe, finding friends, readjusting, like we had discussed, trying to talk about relationships at first. And I was, adjusting those relationships with new people. And that's where I kind of am the most proud of. I am so proud of my degree and everything else, but I just think that's what we should be working towards is, self-fulfilling our bigger inner powers, and then turning around and helping people, because there's other people that are struggling too. Just other people that feel like they're in a hole, or like depression. I went through a huge depression, huge anxiety. And, if we can help others with the things that we've learned and the hard things that we went through,
Yeah.
we should. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where I'm at now. Like, I want to do podcasts and be there for people and show them that, like, your darkest days are also the days that bring you to your lightest and your brightest.
Yes.
You know, as long as you can learn from them. And so you just, sometimes you need an extra hand.
Right.
That's okay.
Now, how long were you married, if you don't mind me asking?
I was married 6 years. We were together for 10 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that, I was doing a little, I'll do an association for you. So my wife has a similar story where her first marriage was 4 years, and she was putting herself through graduate school to get her master's in teaching. And 1-year-old, 3-year-old marriage dissolves. And now she has to finish graduate school, take care of these 2 little kids, and go through the divorce. And that's really where her and I kind of connected. And I'll get into my stuff here in a minute, but it's, you know, it's similar. And we all go through these. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. We all go through these similar things that help us grow and help us learn. And you know, when we're able to talk to other people who can connect and understand, because we've probably both gotten, well, yeah, you know, I understand. Well, you may or may not understand. So,
Yeah.
so
definitely.
yeah, those are the most trying times. And I can say that from personal experience.
Yeah. You almost feel like an outcast too. Like when it happened, I didn't want to tell a soul. I didn't want to ask for help. I was very much like, I could do it all on my own. I remember I went and put like swings up in the tree out front of my house. And I was like, I can do this. I don't need a man. And then I remember crying on the kitchen floor and calling my mom and saying like, I can't do this. And finally just, you know, realizing like, you need to reach out and you don't have to do things alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
You can still be strong and need support. So
yes.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh yeah. There's, you know, everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody has a bad day. And it's just not stringing along those bad days, but everybody, every now and again, has a bad day, and it just happens. And, you know, if you have that support system, I think that it makes those bad days easier. You know, if you got to go searching for that support system, it takes a little longer to get over that bad day, or they may string together. But you're right, Jackie. It's, you know, it's having that support system. Lexus, your turn on the round table.
So I guess I can go back to my parents. My parents are Greg and Judy Tierney, for anybody that's listening that's not familiar. Both right now 10th degree black belts, but retired. 51 years they ran a successful martial arts school. 51 years. My mom amazing. Came on board. Probably she'll correct me. She came on board a little bit into those 51 years. My parents met through the martial arts, and probably because of the martial arts is the reason that I'm here. I was born and raised in a dojo. From my earliest childhood memories of playing with other kids was always in my parents' place of work, which was just, you know, it was a unique upbringing. My schedule in childhood, my parents were constantly committed to growing the business back in those early days. And for a lot of times, I didn't really have a babysitter. I was in the dojo. And so by default, of course, I started martial arts training. And it was just sort of like, you know, this is what we do. Like, you're doing this. And so it was. And so I grew up in the business. There definitely came a time when I kind of hit an age where I had my own opinions and I had my own thoughts, and decided that, you know, I wasn't going to be pushed in any one direction, and I wanted to pursue my interests, and I had a lot of interests. But I came back. I went to Syracuse as well and got my undergrad there in political science. And it was when I was in college that I decided, like, it's time for me to make my black belt. And that's when I got really serious about doing what I'd set out to do and hit that goal. Came on board and started working for my parents, was employed by them from that time all the way until well, COVID hit, and then everything just kind of went crazy. So back in March, my parents had shut down the facility because everything was under quarantine. And so we were just kind of like at a standstill. My dad was diagnosed with bladder cancer in March, which was really stressful, like everything hitting at once. A lot of uncertainty, and I just really couldn't handle all of it at the same time. So I just decided I would not deal with some aspects of the things that were stressing me out and only deal with what I could handle on any given day. It wasn't until in June that my parents made the decision that they were going to fully retire. Like once they could see that this whole COVID thing wasn't really going to go away, to them, running the business just didn't look the same. Like reopening it wasn't going to look the same. It was going to be way different and seemingly overwhelming and stressful. And especially with somebody who's a cancer patient who really couldn't be around a whole lot of people at the time, it changed their priorities. So they decided that they were done. And so it was like grieving a death. It felt like the loss of a family member, because everything in my life that was a constant, like my mom, my dad, and that business were there from the day one, the day I was born. So this thing like not existing anymore, I wanted to act like I was okay with it. And for a couple of days, I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, it's fine, whatever. And my husband's like, like, what do you mean? Like, you can't just walk away from this. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, you know what? It's not just about me. Like there's people, there's students, there's people counting on me. And you know what? I really love what I do and I'm good at what I do. So you know what? I'm going to figure this out. At that point, it was July. We couldn't even like physically reopen at that point. So I went and I got my own LLC, set it up. I mean, there was no progression. There was no transition plan. Like literally it just ended. And then this just started, myself. And I had to like just kind of pick up and figure this out in this world. So I operated virtually, which was a challenge. I don't think that a lot of people really can conceptualize until you're actually trying to teach people things on a screen. You know what I mean? Like how to physically move, right, left, no, your other right, your other left. Like and with children, no less, you know what I mean? Right. Keeping children engaged and feeling like I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I just don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure out a way and make it work. And I did. I kept showing up. I kept sticking it out. At one point I was really discouraged. Like, I was like, what am I going to put on social media? Like, I can't take pictures. Like normally I would take pictures of classes and, you don't have that anymore. It's a computer screen. And somebody said to me, you know what? You just got to put motivating content out there. You got to put yourself out there, put your thoughts, put your ideas, put messages together, teach people, break down things, just whatever. Like that's how you're going to keep this momentum going. And as it turned out, like my social media became my new storefront, because once there was not a physical location to operate out of, it was like poof, you know what I mean? Like don't exist anymore. And if anything, like when I commit myself to something, doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to see it through. I'm going to take it 100% and I'm going to just, grind. And that's what I did. And so I started putting out the motivating content on social media. Totally wasn't comfortable with it. Really didn't like putting myself out there. Every time I hit share, I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're not comfortable with something, like that's a stretch. Like I'm talking and, putting things out there. And, that really took on a life. And it was something like the motivational messages I was putting out for people were for people, but they were also for me. It was like therapy. It was what I needed at that time, because it did feel really bleak and really discouraging for a good chunk there. Kept doing that. Well, things kind of started to happen. I had a local news reporter had seen one of my posts and had reached out to me on Facebook and said, hey, I think this story of yours is really inspiring. Like, would you be willing to share it? And I said, at the time I was my husband and I were in the car. My father-in-law had passed away. We were driving to Florida to deal with that. And I was like, I'm not even in town. Like, I can't be interviewed right now. But I said, if you're still interested, I'll be back in a week and a half. And he said, yeah, let's connect. Here's my number. Give me a call. He's from Spectrum. He did a really great piece. And it ran like every hour for 12 hours. It was like on Spectrum every hour. It was just really beautiful the way he put it together. So that like lifted me up. I was like, you know what? I'm not just putting this stuff out there for nothing. I'm not just, doing stuff for nothing. Like, the impact is something's happening here. Mm-hmm. Well, I was having a crummy morning, right? Just dealing with stuff. One of those days when just nothing really seems to go right. I hadn't even really like checked my emails, and it was like 10:30 a.m. And I finally get into my emails and I see something from Access Hollywood. I was like, what the? So I open the email, right? And he says, my name is Nelson and I'm a producer with Access Hollywood. I saw your story from Spectrum and I find it very inspiring. Would you be willing to be interviewed? I was like, are you flipping kidding me? Are you kidding me? I called my parents. I was in tears, crying. It was like the uplift. You know what I mean? Like, when you're just doing stuff, and it just doesn't feel like you're trying your best, but it just doesn't feel like anything is breaking. It was like the breakthrough that I needed. And it was amazing. Like, we cried like when we saw it, because he talked about like the cancer diagnosis, and he talked about like the struggle and the shutdown, and and took like pictures from like my childhood and stuff. I'm like welling up talking about it. And it aired, and it was just like, you can make a difference even when you feel like you're in a really tough spot, and it really feels like you're struggling, and it doesn't feel like you're having that breakthrough. You just keep showing up and you just keep grinding. And that's what I've done every day since then. And you know what? It's paid off, because, even when it doesn't feel like you're making an impact, and even when it doesn't feel like what you're putting out there is even that great, it has an impact, and people do see it, and people do notice it. And from like the students that I get to interact with now, thank God that I can teach in person again. And it's just like, it's like new life has been breathed into me. Like, we're on the other end of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And, putting out good content. Like I said to you, Jason, like, I ran into a neighbor, and like and it was one of those interactions where she was like, oh my gosh, I just love your videos, and you are making an impact, and I save your videos and I do your workouts. Like, you're motivating me. Like, you keep doing what you're doing. Right. And like, that's kind of what this has come to and grown into. And I feel like now that I am able to offer in-person classes, like, I have never had so much interest. I mean, I can't keep up. I can't schedule people soon enough to come in. I am like booked out for new people for a couple of weeks. Like, I can't get them in the schedule quick enough. And I'm telling you, I really do feel like that it is from putting goodness out there that, right. You may not see it in the numbers. You may not see it in the metrics, but people, when they see something that they feel like they can be inspired with and touched by, and you make yourself vulnerable to them and share your story, right. that it is impactful. So as vulnerable as it seems, it is well worth it. And it's beautiful. I've rebuilt this studio, and I'm rebuilding this program, and I couldn't be more proud and more pleased.
And you should be 100%
That's
proud.
Where we are.
Oh yeah.
If you were here, I'd give you these. Holy cow.
Thank you. I wish, I don't even know if I'm putting it even into, I don't know, the clearest terms that I can put it in, but yeah.
I don't know how to follow that. I can't follow
I'm
that.
sorry.
I feel pretty insignificant now. But not to make light. I mean, you did something that proves how hard work and grinding just pays off. And, you took the family legacy and put that on your shoulders. And we talked about this last time. I remember your parents from 35-ish years ago, him Purple Dragons in Mattydale. And, it was during the time of Karate Kid, and everybody loved karate. And I can just remember the streams of people coming in and out of the studio, and you just took your family's legacy and put it on your shoulders and just, all right, let's go. And that is absolutely amazing. Second to none. And I can see why it was on Access Hollywood, because it's one of those stories that when you hope the best for people and you hear them start a project or go to grad school or whatever it might be, and you wish them well, and that's what you want to see happen. You want to see the grind, but you want to see them come out on the other side and they're champions, and man, I don't know how to follow that. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And that's why I have you ladies on the show, because your stories are all amazing. And I kind of, there's something to be said about vibes and how you vibe with people and the vibrations that are in a room, in the universe, whatever. And it's just cool. Just cool. So I guess I'll try to go along with this. So I'm an old fellow that grew up in the 80s. And I grew up in the generation of, you went to high school, graduated high school, you went to college, graduated college, you went and got a career, you worked here for 30 years, you worked towards a retirement, and hopefully you didn't die after you retire. That's the generation I grew up in. So that's the path I started to go down. I graduated high school. I married, my first wife was my high school sweetheart. So we get married 21 years old. We had no business getting married or having children at this age, by the way, but it happened. And we were together almost 15 years. My two kids, who are now 23 and 20, were 12 and 8 at the time when the marriage dissolved. And I went through, now, mind you, I grew up in a firehouse. I participated in the same firehouse. I was fire chief in the same firehouse. And this was all going on right around the same time. And my biggest thing was, in my industry, relationships get intermingled. Relationships is everybody's business, because you got your home family and you got your firehouse family, and they all so not only did I have to go, and I kind of did the same thing Liz did, is where my ex-wife and I tried to keep it very low key and hush hush for a long time, because we didn't want to answer a lot of questions, and I didn't want it to land on the firehouse floor where now I got to deal with that and at home. And when the shoe dropped. And luckily for me, the lifelong friends that I have, that her and I had common friends together, never chose sides. They never once chose sides. They tried to support the two of us and support us the best way they could, and never once made judgment to our faces anyway, and never chose sides. But because of all of that, I dove down into a deep, dark hole I was not getting out of by myself. And I can tell you that anxiety and depression is a real thing. And if you don't get help with it, chances are you're going to deal with it for way longer than you should. And luckily for me, I recognized the fact that I was in a deep, dark hole that I wasn't getting out of, and, went and got professional help. But it really had an effect on every aspect of my life. And, I worked 19 years at the 911 center here in Syracuse. And by year, 14, 15, 16, I had enough. I was burned out. I was burned out of public safety, burned out. I participated in the fire department, but I didn't, because I had enough. In 08, I may have even started in 08, because I decided to go back and get my degree that I never finished. So from 08 to 12, I get my bachelor's of science degree in fire service administration. So it's a pretty degree that hangs on my wall that I can do nothing with. I spent tens of thousands of dollars, but it was a personal accomplishment, and that's what it reminds me of. So that education kind of started started to ignite a little fire. And as I look back now, that's where I see the ignition of this little fire starting, to where I was starting to look for things outside of that industry. In 2016, like I said, I really had enough. I went to a friend of mine who was a retired police officer and a broker in a real estate brokerage, and said, "Hey, I need to learn something other than public safety, man." He goes, "All right, well, go take the course, come back and talk to me." Okay, so I did. I spent 3 months, did the course, learned something new, started doing real estate, which fanned those flames of that fire, because now I got some passion and drive to do something new. But then I realized real quick, I knew nothing about real estate. I knew nothing about business. The real estate course only teaches you how not to get sued. That's it. It doesn't teach you how to sell houses or deal with clients. It teaches you how not to get sued. So I had to learn a lot about business. Oh, and by the way, marketing's part of it. So I didn't know anything about marketing. So I had to learn about that and recognize the importance of social media marketing, a lot like what Alexis did with her business. So now I'm learning about business and marketing. Oh, finances. Oh yeah. Got to learn about finances, because you got to know your numbers and you got to know what's going out and coming in. And I'll tell you a funny story is, in my previous life, I was horrible at finances. When I met my current wife, my wife is very visual, and she's got her notebook for monthly bills. And I went, here you go, you do it all. And that was 8 years ago, or 7 or 8 years ago, and she's been doing it ever since. And thank goodness, because, but I'm better about it now because of that business, and you got to know your numbers. So as the more I learned, and then I started finding personal development stuff, and a lot of things started ringing true for me, watching content of Ed Milet and Andy Frisella and Sal Frisella and some other ones out there, super successful people, business owners, that wholeheartedly believe that personal development is why they got to where they're at today. So, and my wife laughs at me because I read all these books, personal development books, and she's like, "Why don't you read something that's fun and fiction?" I said, "All right, maybe every now and again I'll read a fiction." So, and that's what's, so now I'm really, these fans, the fan in the flames. And now, 20 something years, I taught firemen, how to fight fires, and I really enjoyed doing that. Now I'm kind of going down the path with this podcast and doing some work with Alexis of coaching and mentoring and putting the content out there, maybe to help others and to tell this story. So, let people know that you can go through divorce and go through depression and reinvent yourself, and, not have to fall into the mold of you go to high school and you graduate high school and you go to college, and because, it seems I worked with a lot of folks, because in the state retirement system, you have to have, for 911, you have to have 30 years of service and be 55 years old. But if you don't have that 30 years of service, you're at 55, you're not going to max out of the retirement. And so now you're working past 55. And I worked with people, and nobody has any business working that job past 55 years old. No one. I don't care. And I watch people at 57, 59, 60 years old trying to get those 30 years, but they're tired and they don't want to do it anymore. And I was at 16, 17, 18 years, and I was tired and didn't want to do it anymore. So I'm watching them, and I'm like, they don't even want to be here. But they're trying their best because they love doing the job and they love helping people. They don't even want to be there. And what's going to happen when they retire and they don't have to do this anymore? Now what? Because this is all they've done for 35 years. And, when you're almost 60 years old, why reinvent yourself? So I'm like, that was a real wake up call for me. I'm like, man, I don't want to be that. There's too much opportunity out there right now. I say it all the time. There's way too much opportunity out there right now to be stuck in a rut, feeling like you have nothing to do, and, it's pretty empowering to realize the fact that you can learn something new. You can learn anything on YouTube, but you can learn something new. You can start a new business. You could go back to school. You can reinvent a business. it's just, you know, if that's my one thing of service to others and bring value of others, is there's so much opportunity, and you can do more if you want to do more. So that's my shtick. But I think that, you know, we all have something to share, and hopefully we get some comments and people drop their own, share a little bit and drop their own tidbit of a story, because I'd love to hear these things, especially when things work out and you come out the other side and things are so much better. So with that, what do we have for parting thoughts, parting ideas? Where you can even talk about plans for the future. You know, what is your immediate or long-term plan for the future? You know, where do you see yourself going over the next couple of years, or where do you want to go? You can go back on. Jackie, your turn. You've been sitting quiet long enough.
Oh man. Okay. Well, right now I'm involved with a new position at the VA that we're hoping to be more of a transition between the outpatient world and the inpatient world, with uncontrolled diabetics that keep going back in and out of the hospital, kind of like the revolving door, and hoping that if we have this team of a diabetes educator RN and myself as a dietitian diabetes educator, we can help give them the education and catch them before they keep coming back. So hopefully we can save some money for the hospital, for one, but two, mainly help the patient not have to deal with all of the complications that arise from repeated uncontrolled diabetes. So we're putting together this program that will be rolling out in August, the first week in August. So I've been working on that. So I'm excited because I've been doing more outpatient counseling, and I'm interested to really, you know, dive in it and get in the middle, so that they're not coming to see me after they're discharged from the hospital. I'm seeing them in the hospital, so I am a familiar face, and then basically referring them to me again in the outpatient clinic with this team. So we're going to follow them from in the hospital and at discharge. So
that's great.
Hoping that makes a difference. Yeah, so that'll be the work side of things, and then I look forward to continuing to build upon my fitness journey. I still have not, I've posted one of my own workouts, but Alexis, I love all of your workouts. So I do enjoy
thank you.
I know
they're
all the
amazing.
inspiring videos and things, so keep them coming. And I'm living vicariously through Liz and all the things that you do as well. Maybe I'll do some more traveling with the family here. But yeah, so no, I just, you know, trying to build the work side and get it out there a little bit more and do some fun things now that COVID is, I mean, it's here, but it's a little bit looser with everything, and just make some new memories.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. Make some new memories. Liz, what about you?
So same thing. I'm kind of doing like a two-way path here. For work, just kind of staying strong. We're doing a lot of things through my office, but I'm also looking to do a trip to Kenya next year, hopefully.
Wow.
Yes. It won't be with the neurosurgery. It'll be more like a general practice type of just seeing people and trying to help get them to a healthier standing, I guess. So that's the goal. A lot of fundraising for that coming up, and I'm really, really excited about that. I want to give back to my community. It's really, as I've gotten more successful in life, I've found that I really want to show people where I came from, and that your past, I mean, there's so much more that I didn't even get into. I'm not going to now, but that your past doesn't define you. So, you know, I kind of want to venture more into my community. I'm going to go to Kenya, hopefully. And then that kind of also ties into my little adventures, Jackie, like you mentioned, just more like content, more, I make my little corny, goofy hiking YouTube videos. I want to show people you don't have to spend a lot of money. Nature is great. It's great, you know, just pick me up.
Yep.
And so those are my goals, just really venturing out and grabbing people and hopefully bringing them along on this little ride into the world.
That's great. Yeah. And if you haven't checked out Liz's YouTube videos, you got to go check out Liz's YouTube videos on her channel.
Yeah. It's especially Liz. Well,
Yep.
especially underscore list. And I will warn you, there is swearing, and I'm just, the goofiest. I'm not, I am not well put together at all, but that's kind of what I wanted. I just wanted people to come and just feel lighthearted
Yep.
and just know that wherever you are in the world, you can go outside and just enjoy your surroundings.
Yeah.
Even if
And
you're alone.
we don't have to take ourselves serious all the time. So
Yeah.
you gotta have that fun.
Exactly.
And if it was scripted, we wouldn't think it was you. So I
Yeah,
think
right.
you want it to be genuine.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. That's the way to go. Alexis, what do you got going?
I'm going to continue growing this school, in continuing to have a positive impact on the students that I teach and the women that I work with in fitness, and continue just putting out what I put out on social media and connecting more with people like you guys. And it's funny because, I think the one thing that we have to understand in life is that nothing stays the same. Like, we have to continue moving forward. We have to continue evolving. We have to keep doing that professionally. We have to keep doing that socially, mentally. And I just continue to network and connect with people. And, the personal development side of things that Jason, you and I have been working on is just already off to like such a great start. And I feel like there's so much potential in something like that. So, I'm only one person, so I'll have to continue to keep doing what I'm doing and learn to kind of let other people grow into leadership positions in my business so that I can, continue to pursue what I like. Never going to step away from the business, but continue to evolve and grow and make other things great. I feel so fulfilled at this point in my life, and I'm glad to be where I am. And like I said, like, there were some difficult days, and I hope that I can get to a place where I can feel more comfortable sharing like the specific things that happened that felt really painful and vulnerable. I'm really not quite there yet. But like I said, Jason, you and I talked, I think a book would be a really cool endeavor in the future.
100%.
Yeah, when the timing is
right.
You need to do that. I think so.
You need to do that.
I love it. You already have some marketing videos. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
You should.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And I think I'm on the short term for me is more downtime. I work a lot. I do a lot of things. I have a lot of lines in the water, and I had a quick reminder this week that more lines in the water is not necessarily a good thing. And our summers are usually so busy and so full of stuff to do and go by so fast that, it's time for me to take the breathers every now and again. So, I'm looking forward to a week's vacation next week where there'll be a lot less grinding and time to pause and kind of reflect and, enjoy the time that I do have with my family. Because if I learn nothing from my two oldest kids, they grow up very fast. And my two younger daughters are, 12 and 10 and changing schools and that kind of stuff. And, it's like, they were 3 and 1 just, or 4 and 2 just yesterday. So it's one of those things where perspective is key, and I need to keep my perspective as I go forward and do more, do my real estate business, but work on some of the personal development and coaching stuff that I have been. So that's what I look forward to here in the short term in the summer. So, well, ladies, I think we've run the gamut, and I've taken up enough of your time with the podcast here today. I really appreciate your candor, your insight, your I think you've motivated a lot of people. So your motivation, and I can't wait to do this again. So for everybody that's watching, please put on a comment, drop a comment, let us know what you think. Follow these ladies on social. We discussed it before, but they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Liz is on YouTube. So you'll be able to, you'll be, and if you can't find them, let me know, hit me up and I'll connect you if you want to be connected with these ladies, because they're doing great things. So with that, everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great night.